Hey there, everyone. I hope there are a few of you who are still around. I had some massive technical difficulties a few minutes ago, so I am like half an hour late on this live broadcast. If you guys are still around, by all means, I hope you join in. Again, my apologies. I will, in the meantime, talk to myself. And we'll walk you through some projects that I've got going on. And we're going to talk about the subdriver ballast system. Had actually quite a few people who wanted to know the difference between SAS, which is semi-aspirated system, and the snort system. And there is a difference between the two of them. And I'm going to go into that here in a little bit. And yeah, we'll talk about that. It is great to see you guys got at least 12, so that made it all worth it. I'm gonna have to apologize to everybody that came and went without me. So hey, what do we got going on here right now? So if you follow my YouTube channel, which I'm kind of assuming that you guys do, you'll know that I've been working on this League of Extraordinary Gentlemen submarine project. This is the Nautilus from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, also known as the Sword of the Sea for a very good reason. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. Kind of looks like a scimitar when you look at it from the side, and the cross-section is exceptionally narrow. So, yeah, very much like a sword, but I've always loved it. I thought it was a really, really cool design. I stumbled across some files, and I decided to take it on as a personal project. Now, note to everyone, I am not in any way, shape, or form going to be able to offer this as a kit. So do not ask. The files were not mine, and it is a copyrighted design. So if you want it, you will have to go out and find it upon your own. Having said that, if you do, and you print it out, you should be able to follow a methodology for making it into an RC craft. Now, the big challenge with this boat, now they're really going to be complicated to do this one-handed. Come on, baby. The top is held down magnetically, and getting it all off at the same, there we go. Pure talent. Not a lot of room in there, as you can see. This is about 1.5 inches of room, but I've got work done primarily in the back. So these rear dive planes are fixed; they're not going to move. And the reason for that is if you look down, if they were to tilt down, they would impact the hull. So I'm going to have some front dive planes, and that's going to be how I achieve pitch control. I've got a brushless motor in here. And that's connected to a ducted propeller that's inside the boat, and that is expelled through this big outlet in the back, past this triple rudder, which I've got all rigged up and working. So I should have, in theory, some really exceptional rudder control on this boat. Because that as soon as you get on the throttle, that water is rushing past the triple props, and it gets you instantaneous response. Now, I am not going to be putting in a traditional cylindrical watertight cylinder into the boat, and reason is, of course, narrow opening in there, and I wanted to get the maximum amount of room possible, so I'm actually going to be having this rectangular watertight container. And it's going to have all of these guts in it. And it's going to have a clear top. The clear top is going to be permanently adhered. And you can see what I'm doing actually right now. I've put a silicone bead around that bottom piece, and that's curing right now. So that is going to form a gasket, and the bottom is going to pop off and allow access to the interior. So as it sits like this, even if I get a leak in here, the internal air pressure will actually stop water from flowing into any great degree. So I'm hoping that this is going to work really good. You can see I've got a couple of servos. They're going to pop up through the top, and they're going to spin in a rotary manner. Got two that are going to be going forward, one for the forward dive planes and one for the ballast vent. Got a little air pump here to blow my ballast with, and then the rear servo for the rudder. So it's coming along. I'm going to have this 1500 milliamp hour battery to power it. So hopefully I should have some pretty decent runtime. The only other things I'm going to add to that are going to be the automatic, although I don't think I'm going to necessarily need it. Then I got my little BL Heli brushless electronic speed controller, 35 amp electronic speed controller. So that's the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen submarine. I'm going to continue to work on that and get it fully operational here in a little bit, picking away at it in between my my other projects. Here's something else I've been working on. For those of you who own a subdriver or seen a subdriver, you will know that this is like a standard end cap, and there would be an O-ring that goes in there, and it presses into place like that. And the pressure of the O-ring seal is what keeps it locked in place. The challenge to this as a manufacturer is that this never has internal tolerance that is the same over time and even between individual lengths of tubing. As far as I know, the outside tolerance is fairly tight, but the inside varies quite a bit. And when you are sealing against the inside, it is extremely problematic to get that seal. Each one of the end caps needs to be individually machined for each individual piece of polycarbonate. So not ideal. It certainly works, but the issue is if you ever need to have it replaced, it's may or may not work to get a replacement part for it. And of course, you got to dig your screwdriver in that lip and pop the end cap off and all of that stuff. So not ideal. So this is actually what I came up with as a potential alternative or option for people. And I'm exploring this right now with the help of David Merriman. It'll be a retrofit for any existing cylinder. It would just slip over your existing cylinder, and you got a big beefy 1/8 inch O-ring on there, which is a lot different than the 16th inch O-ring that seals on the inside face. So there's a lot more meat in there, a lot more compressibility to it. That just basically goes in place, and you can see obviously it comes on and off really easily. You just put these arms down, tighten down these screws, and it compresses that seal against the face. And it's very, very similar to like an OTW system or a shear line system. Works really well. Now, disadvantage, it makes the end a little bit bigger. So if you have tight confines, it's not good. And obviously, it's a little bit more work than just machining a groove in an end cap and pressing it in. But working on this, I wanted to show it to you. You guys are the first people to see it. We'll see what comes of this, if we can put this into production and what that potentially looks like. So watch for that in the future. Ed, I saw you you reached out. I talked to you on the phone about those torps, buddy. Kind of let you know what it is, the future of them. It's queued up. But I'm going to be brutally honest with you guys. I am reaching the limits of what I personally am able to do from a business perspective and fulfilling orders. All right. Like 90% of my time is taken up on customer inquiries, customer correspondence, customer emails. That's 2 to 3 hours per day answering questions from people all over the world. I don't get paid for that. I do that out of the goodness of my heart to help the hobby and to help people, all right? 2 to 3 hours per day gone. That's why I got the Dive Tribe video thing going up. And the next one is next week. You have to be a member to see it, but this is your chance to answer questions and get them answered live, not only by me, but by a whole host of other exceptionally experienced people. So just to let you know where I'm at, all of these orders that I'm picking and packing and shipping, managing inventory means that my builds suffer, and then certainly, because builds are paid for, new product development suffers. And the 48th Torps are a new product. They're on the back burner. Nobody's paying me to build them. So they are, I'm going to say, on hold right now. For those of you who followed my videos before, I do have operational prototype 48 scale gas torpedoes. All that's left to do is to engineer the launching system. But hey, yeah, do that in my free time. You can see even my weekends are filled with RC submarine stuff. So yeah, 12 to 14 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week. That is where we are at. The sub kid, the RC sub kid. Hey, that's a great segue. Let's talk about his next project. If you guys just took a look at my channel, you'll see Logan's last video there. He did the bat sub, and if you haven't had a chance to see that, you need to take a look at it. That was a really cool sub that was kind of donated to us by David Merriman. Logan took it upon himself to finish it up, repair it, upgrade it. But this is what's going to be next, and it's just something that, you know, he is passionate about, and I found it to be an exceptionally big challenge from an engineering perspective. Obviously, we take a look at this, there's no control surfaces. You know, there's no rudders, there's no dive planes, but we're going to turn this into an RC submarine. So put my my thinking cap on, and this is what we came up with. And you can see it's clear. And actually, once this is all done, it'll be backlit with bright blue LEDs. But I got 12 jet nozzles there, and they're all oriented along the center line of the boat. And you can see on the one side here, I've got one of these installed. This is a tilting nozzle. And that is going to allow pitch control and roll. So the way that this is going to work, obviously, to dive the boat, all the nozzles will point down. The back of the sub will go up, and down it will go, and obviously opposite to surface. But to roll, to conduct a roll, you know, for example, the port side might tilt up, the starboard side might tilt down, and around we end up going. Someone had mentioned the use of transparent dive planes. Yeah, you can do it, but I mean, I don't want to. I want to make this work. I want to have ducted propulsion, and yeah, that will eliminate the need for, you know, transparent dive planes sticking out the side of the boat. Someone asked about the linkages. Well, you can see on the top of each nozzle there's a little tab. The control rods will attach to it, all of them on this side. So there'll be 6 of them, and then they'll all move together to a single rod out here that will act as the you know, the main shaft that will control it all, and then a single servo will actuate it, or at least that is the plan. So yeah, this is going to be the business end of everything. I think this is what we're going to start on. These are sealed compartments. Water will be pumped into and then squirted out all of the nozzles. So Logan is going to take it upon himself to clean all this up. Again, these are 3D printed in PETG, transparent plastic, so it's very water friendly and clear. Got a couple of brushless motors. They're going to be running in the wet. We don't need to seal them. I'm going to use waterproof servos. I'm not going to need to seal those. In theory, the only thing that we're going to need to waterproof is the speed controller, the battery, and the receiver. No ballast system. It's going to be a complete dynamic diver, ballasted just ever so slightly positive so that just a little bit of movement and down it will go. So, hey, watch for that. Well, see what else we got on our bench here. This is the first time I have ever seen this in person. So this is a dive module put out by a company called Shearline out of the UK. Now, if I understand things correctly, Shearline's no longer in business, and they sold all of their stuff to another guy in the UK who is now selling watertight cylinders based on the same premise. But looking at this is basically an OTW system for all intents and purposes, just a little bit more low tech. So I just want to show you how it works. You got a water pump here, a 12-volt water pump that sucks water in, blows it through this hose, through this pinch valve, into a sealed ballast tank. So water's pumped in, the water level fills, air is compressed. When that pump is operating, the pinch valve is open, water's flowing. As soon as you turn that off, the pinch valve closes, stops water from coming out. When you want to surface, you open this servo up, that valve opens, and the water is pushed out of the tank by air pressure. So it's a pretty slick system. You know, this servo controls everything. It's not electronic, it's mechanical. It uses this little limit switch right here to turn the pump on, and then mechanically pushes this closed for the pinch valve. So super simple, works really good. You know, OTW uses a reversible gear pump, so it pumps in and pumps out. This only pumps in, so just a little bit of a different way of going about it, of doing it, but both certainly work. Pretty cool. I'm kind of stoked about it. Big, beefy. I mean, this thing is probably good to like 100 feet of depth. This is like incredibly tough stuff. In the back here, we got a big geared motor that goes through this main drive shaft. I'm gonna basically just check this for operation. It came with a Shearline Trafalgar model that I've got on the shelf back at the shop. And if everything works out well, I'm basically just going to test this, drop it in there, trim the boat out, and that one will be ready to sell. So watch for that in the future. Those Shearline Trafalgar models were so cool. They've got all of the anechoic tiles scribed into it. They're really, really cool models. We'll show you this too. We've got a 571 Nautilus. First nuclear-powered submarine. This is the prototype of the 3D files that will be available for download very, very shortly. This is 1/100th scale. The actual files are going to be 1/96 scale. Slight difference, but it makes a difference. Very cool boat. This one is set up, the prototype, with a longitudinal hull split. I have decided that these 3D printed models really, I don't like that split because the 3D printed plastic doesn't hold its shape very well, not like fiberglass does. And it's also very, very prone to warping if it gets any degree of heat from the sun. So what I've actually done for the new prototype that's currently on the printer, and I'll show that to you, is I've got a vertical split here and here, and it's going to use a bayonet system. You just basically twist and pull. You can slip your cylinder in and out, and you've got access to the interior of the boat while retaining all of the strength and rigidity of a cylinder versus a half circle. So look for that coming in the very near-ish future. Let's see here. Why don't we go take a look at the 3D printer printing out those prototype parts, and another project that I've got going on. So this is my 3D printer room. I had a question from someone. Do you have some tips for designing a 3D printed submodel? make sure you have tons and tons of ribs, thick ribs, to act as supports. And that'll allow you to actually make the walls of it fairly thin. So if we take a look at this, let's back up here. I'll show you what I got going on. All three of my printers are just working like crazy right now. But this is the 571 Nautilus. You can see the bayonet ring has printed on the left-hand side. And then this is a hull section that's printing, and that's about 2.5 millimeters thick for the shell. Here's another one right here, a little easier to see. And then up at the top, once this is printed, there'll be a big round bulkhead that will offer rigidity to the submarine. So bulkheads are very important. And then the other thing, just make sure you make allowances for all of your linkages, drive shafts. Think it all out ahead of time. Think about your hull access, where you're going to put screws, how everything goes together. That's all I can say. It really depends on the boat itself. Here's the other project I got going on, and I would be really surprised if any one of you could call out what this is based on this. Well, maybe I wouldn't be super surprised. You guys are all sub fans. Maybe, does that help? No, that doesn't help. My phone decided to rotate. This is going to be another personal project, and again, I found these files. I did not make these files, therefore I will not be offering them for sale. But this is a flatbed from Abyss. So this is the forward hull section. Once this is all done printing, I'll obviously move on to the rear hull section, and then all of the various skids and everything else that goes on with that. So watch for that in the nearish future-ish as well. I am going to just check the comments in here and make sure I'm not missing anything, but then I am going to have to let you guys go because of those technical difficulties. My entire day has been kind of messed up now from a schedule perspective. But there was a question about Oscar. There is a company out of Russia that offers a 196 scale Oscar submarine kit. Now, that's a big difference from 1/350th scale. But if I remember correctly, and I can certainly confirm this if you're serious, the molds were burned out, and I don't know if he was planning on redoing it. Now, I have the master patterns for Kevin McLeod's 196 scale Oscar, and they are absolutely gorgeous. But as I mentioned earlier, the time and energy that is needed to kit something like that up is something that I do not possess right now. So I'm actually talking with some other people, some other suppliers to the hobby to potentially do that for me. So 196 scale is going to be a big boat. It's going to be like 6 feet long. So if that's something that interests you, pop me an email, bob@rc-sub.com, and we'll see if Russia can help you, and if not, if you can wait, maybe we'll have something for you ourselves. So with that, I'm going to leave you guys. Huge apologies. That was something on my end. We had wireless internet issues here at the house, which I finally got figured out. If you haven't already, I highly recommend joining the Dive Tribe. I know it's $50, but if you are going to buy anything from me this year, you're going to have that paid for in terms of the discounts that I'm offering. And I've also got a reward for anybody that actually buys a kit from me and finishes it. I'll give you cash back in your pocket. All you need to do is finish it. So there's lots of benefits, the biggest of which really is that online video technical help session. Even if you aren't having problems, it's a great place to talk submarines and to see what everybody else is working on, because it's a bit of show and tell too. We have an awesome, awesome time. So make sure you check it out. It's the Dive Tribe link on the top of my website, guys. That's it for now. Thanks for joining me. Big apologies for the late start, but it was worth it. I love talking with you guys. For now, I'll sign off. This is Bob Martin, the RC Sub Guy, NautilusDryDocks.com. We will catch you guys later.